So let's talk about premium product. As we'd known a year ago, History Collection came out. Oh my god, it's actually been a year already. And it has made a tremendous impact in the metagame premium formed up to be to today's age, essentially. In this video, as a quick frame of perspective, I'm going to cover this into 3 parts. The first, talk about some products that have shaped the premium format in the past year or two. Second, also to what, my wishes or hope fors that Bushiroad would do with premium product moving forward. And then lastly, what to do in the meantime until we get something that's premium specific for all the clans, essentially. Let's get right into it. Check out Dueling Guard's deck boxes, playmats, and binders. They're great quality products that are anime based. They continually have more anime options becoming available. Use the affiliated link in the description for a 5% discount on your next purchase. I also want to make it clear that I do appreciate Bushiroad and their efforts in making Cardfight Vanguard as fun as possible. There are other TCGs that are struggling in different areas. And if you haven't been aware with modern Yu-Gi-Oh, for example, there's a lot of people complaining and also quitting and stuff like that. So again, I am grateful for what Bushiroad does. First topic is really some product that has helped this past year or two. And I'll start off with the grade 1s and the grade 2 promos that we've gotten through monthly locals, essentially. The grade 2s were phenomenal because they added consistency to decks as well. And then crest decks really gained a lot of consistency from this because you would have to play 4 crest givers, and then alongside with these grade 2s, increase the consistency to really have a higher probability of seeing the crest giver by turn 1. Also, some of these grade 2s were phenomenal in their clans because they would do X, Y, and Z for their specific clan. Prime examples would be Repressed Strike Dragon and Force having a restander that gains power. And then of course, Tador in Gold Paladin being able to superior call 2 cards during the battle phase. That synergizes overall with the Gold Paladin strategy anyway. So technically that was the premium product, but you can see it translate into more premium. And alongside with the grade 1 promos as well, they add more defensive quality, which is appreciated. I think in this game, we always could use a little more defensive quality when it comes to guarding. The fact that they added a clause where you can actually pay the cost of a G guard using these cards helps a lot of decks have easier G guarding, especially when you do need it. And then also decks that want to flip cards face up more often, such as Aquaforce with Alexandros, or even crest decks like Shiranui to get more power up with the crest on the following turn as well. It also helps niche scenarios too, because you can guard with them from hand, which can get around certain guard restrictions such as Redora, where you cannot use G guards to begin with. So this is higher shield with 1 card coming from your hand essentially. So the problem with these cards though, the way that they're sequencing can be a long time for certain clans to get theirs essentially. They're doing 2 clans per month, and so you can see within a year's time, they'll hit all 24 clans. However, if you're at the end of the year, you basically won't be getting your new support until literally the end of the year. And this new support is really 1 card per year, essentially. And not every clan is really needing these grade 1 cards, whereas compared to the grade 2 cards, those were a little more splashable in most clans. And I think the frequency can be improved a little bit better, and I'll talk more about that later in the video. But going into the standard format that impacted premium are the standard deck sets. So this started off with Chronojet, Messiah, and we were speculating different grade 3 bosses that will get the same treatment, but they decided to skip ahead to Shiranui and Lord, and now they're going backwards to nightrose and Harri. In premium, we're able to use these crests to be able to scale in power. Pretty much up to this point, both nightrose and Harri crests were also revealed to give 5k to the front row. So up to this point, all crests in those types of deck sets increase in power, restricted to the grade 3 boss that you would ride moving forward, and also making your Vanguard 13k base, which is phenomenal because History Collection revived a lot of the grade 3 bosses that were already 11k. The most impactful up to this date is really Shiranui that took advantage of the crest, but also with the support that came in. Specifically, the restanders like Furai and also Seikai to a degree, but also even just reusing cards from Overdress, such as Esperidia. In recent releases, Shiranui and Lura came in January of 2023, and now we're expected to get nightrose and Harri in January 2024, especially late January. So it's almost 2 decks per year in the sense too, but if they kept the same trend, this will take forever to get to the entire 24 clans. We're talking about 7 to 8 years essentially in total. And I'll talk more about that again later in the video with the frequency as well. Now, actually specific premium product that was geared for the premium format. And so we're talking about the premium deck sets now with Revenger, Jewel Knight, and Musketeers. I will say this, they did a really good job on having this deck set really more complete for newer players, especially if they haven't had any of the clan cards that they need, plus generic staples. You need Harmonics because you want to get the extra ticket show and also having access to Harmonics with its other skills. You want Sanctitude because Sanctitude is really good in this metagame overall. It comes with the effect triggers that you most likely are going to use anyway in most clans, the OT that is specific to that nation as well, and a lot of the reprints and erratas that basically they're doing. So such as like Mana and Sword Me, like really good reprints. They haven't seen any reprints in like 10 plus years essentially. And so you almost could get a deck set and be able to play it out of the box. But in this case, you more likely need 2 to 3 boxes just to get enough cards to have a fully built deck. And then of course, upgrade with some of the cards to full complete deck in your eyes, essentially. Prime examples are like 3 Katrinas, for example. So you need 3 boxes. With Divinez and Raging Form, you can probably get away with 2 boxes, if not 1, depending if you just pick up a little bit here and there. And one of the things that I did notice, and has impacted the metagame in a sense too, is having more accessibility to certain cards. Katrina is a big one in this metagame because it is one of the top decks at this point. And for the longest time, Katrina was banned too, so just having a surplus of Katrinas floating around may not have been as easily to obtain without paying some heftier price. What these deck sets really did is they took old cards from Limit Break era and make them reusable. They may not have been like super tier 1 or anything like, or change of the game, but it added options to those 3 specific clans. And I think this is where I would transition that these are my hopes, and some players tend to say like, well, Bushiroad tends to do this because of X, Y, and Z, right? And in a way, it sets like a trend, right? I would like to re-emphasize that over the years, Bushiroad has been unpredictable. We've seen prime examples with the standard deck sets recently too. Like we thought that after Chrono Jet and Messiah, it would be X, Y, and Z. But then all of a sudden they skipped to Shiranui and Luard. Not to mention Shiranui Domination, where people were like floored at first, like Domination back again. Especially what happened at the end of G era. And let's not forget, where people even, with V series, they're like, they're not gonna do a grade 3 with an Excel gift with Ripple in the name. And then it happened. Literally Jurassic Park memes, essentially. With that said, it's just, there's no point in speculating, but again, these are my hopes for. So just follow along for now. If Bushiroad were to move forward with these premium deck sets specifically, if they can make another set of 3, and if they want to play it safe, they can do Protect next. They can do OTT, Angel Feather, and also Mega Colony, because these 3 clans would really appreciate more cards to add to their win cons and also just some variety as well, and sometimes much needed support. And again, this is good for new players that are either diving into the premium format or even just into a clan itself that they haven't played yet, especially if they make a little more small adjustments like staples essentially, where you can just get away with maybe buying 1 deck set or maybe just 2 at most. And I would recommend doing this a little more often, and they can do perhaps like every 4 months, for example. It may seem pretty ambitious, but it seems more reasonable when you compare it to History Collection. You gotta remember they release History Collection for each clan that generated 2 gifts and also strode regardless of your opponent's grade. So that entirely, as a concept at the time, a lot of people were like, whoa, that's insane. That's going to change the metagame. But that could also go wrong, right? There's so many ways that can go wrong, essentially. But it worked out, essentially. So it's not so far-fetched with that. I would be ecstatic if they retrain like 7 Seas, Blue Wave, or even Regalia into these errata premium deck sets to bring those like old units back into a more modernized deck build, essentially. I think with the grade 2 and grade 1 promos is a good idea, but with the premium now becoming a side event, I think they can focus more of their efforts into actual premium cards. So you can actually have new strides and new G guards with these clans on a monthly basis. If they want to still keep the same 2 clans per month, I think that's not far-fetched. But again, it kind of falls into where like, if you're the last few clans, then you're kind of missing out on most of the metagame compared to a clan that got it like on the first month. I think it's best to increase the frequency to that, or just having more clans getting supported within the same month. If they do 4, for example, per month, then in 6 months, everything will get support, essentially. And if they want to be more ambitious, they can do 6 in a month, and in 4 months, everything's on the same level, essentially. And I think this is even more important because there are certain clans that really do need an upgrade in strike quality and also G-Guard quality. Prime examples that I always refer back to are Genesis and Shadow Paladin as well. They both have G-Guards that reduce crits or also just become a PG. And other clans that may have not the best G-Guards, notoriously Aquaforce, for example, hint hint, would appreciate that in just survivability in today's metagame. And just like in standard with the standard deck sets with like nightrose and harri, these deck sets tend to actually impact decks in premium format. Obviously, it has its cons with like inconsistency of not getting the crest giver to a certain degree, but every time these deck sets come out, it actually impacts the clan that is affected as another variant, if not the deck, to actually play and compete. We've seen this with Shiranui, for example, in BSF season as well. and other challenges that other stores host them, just like KSC and also Rivals Challenge, for example, with the premium format in mind. And they can also coordinate this if they plan to do premium deck sets where the opposite clans that haven't been supported yet can be in the standard deck set instead. So just like I mentioned in premium deck set, it will be good to maybe start with the protect clans such as like OTT, Angel Feather, Mega Colony, and then in the next standard deck set, it could be a pair or even a triplet. We've seen teams of 3 in G era, so why not have 3 standard deck sets come out at once instead of just the pair, essentially? That would help speed up the process too. And if they want to expedite, instead of once a year of having a pair, they can do a pair every 6 months. And you can see that's reduced dramatically to 3 to 4 years, if not less, depending on the frequency that they're willing to do. I think one of the other things to keep in mind is that Harri is the first Excel clan to get a crest too. Also, the way to think about it is that Harri is limited in generating Excel circles to a certain degree. Harri will accumulate with 2 initial Excel circles with the history collection strat, and then after that you can use Yvette to generate more circles, essentially. However, if you're using V Harri, everything becomes the sage too, so it's a little bit more tamed in essence, but it's also not much different compared to Shiranui with multiple restanders and also having access to domination, which is really more attacks, especially when you're like GP3 with Ren. So I think it's good for Bushiroad to test the waters with Harri first at least, and handle the Excel clans moving forward too. And then my last part too is what to do in the meanwhile. You know, if you feel like you're getting into a format of staleness with premium, I've had people that are complaining about it and I've had people that are cool with it, to be honest. I would encourage you to just try different decks, if not different clans from what you already know. This will let you also discover some pros and cons within those decks and appreciate almost like a reinvigorating feeling that like you're just getting into the format, into a new metagame, with new eyes, new constraints that you have to work with and solve against, especially if you want to take the deck at a regional, for example. You actually can do this free on CFA as well, or you can spend a little bit of money on proxies too if you just want to play for fun with your friends too. It doesn't have to be super competitive or you have to take it to locals or regional. This could be another fun deck that you want to explore in. Not necessarily a plug, but shout out to like even 50 cards and Deck Flare and other people that were involved, like Solom and Orange, just making premium bundles for people to pick up like 6 months ago. I actually picked up Spikes for myself and now I'm like having fun with it and also learning some of the pros and cons that the deck has to deal with. The other thing you could do is legacy formats. So legacy formats such as like G-Era, Legion, Limit Break as a side event now V Premium, that could be more specific formats that you can enjoy just for fun as well. There's a G-Boot server that I've been a part of, and I've been having a blast in playing G-Era tournaments. They've actually had tourneys and a modified ban list to help make the metagame more fun and also make it viable for tier 2 decks. And as you can see, like I've taken like Bluish Flame Liberators with all the support up to the G-Era, and also even 7Cs with Twilight Nightrose, and even the heals that countercharge or soul charge Dewey the Ghosty. So something additional that you could try out, and also revisited era that if you're a more newer player, you might have missed out and you can go back in time and actually learn some things as well too. This might be a counterintuitive point or a contradictory one, but pick up a second TCG. I think in today's age, we've realized that more trading card games are becoming more prominent, not only in the lifestyle with people in the day-to-day, more people are playing trading card games, and it could be One Piece, it could be Lorcana, it could be like Yu-Gi-Oh, it could be Cardfight Vanguard, but also it's becoming more of a norm where people have a second TCG, if not a third one as well. Now for me, even earlier this year, I actually went back to Yu-Gi-Oh, but specifically Gold format, and that was a legacy format. And I've never really played in that era, so I totally missed out back then. But going into it and learning more about it and actually competing really made me appreciate a format that was there, and it's still played till today, from a ban list of 2005. That's 20 years ago, almost ago. And yet over the past 5, 10, 15 years, people have innovated still with that limited card pool, with that ban list in mind, and have come up with some creative decks with maybe a couple card choices, but even the big picture can look differently still. You can have the same mindset with G-Era or even Limit Break Era in Vanguard, but you could also just play a different card game in the meantime and have fun. And even like with other games, like you can play with a more modern support. Like I picked up Mermails, for example, for modern Yu-Gi-Oh, but I also have the mindset that I'm gonna play more casually with it and not stress so much about competing and trying to like top at a Yu-Gi-Oh regional, or at least just yet. I picked up Mermails literally 3 weeks before support was announced, and now they might be one of the best decks in the format in the future coming up. But at the end of the day, my goal is to have fun while playing a TCG, regardless which one it is, essentially. And just to wrap up with the video, as you can see with products that I mentioned that have impacted premium, I think the overall consensus people feel like we just need some more premium product. If we had some more intentionality behind it, I think premium format which would be in a much better place. And in your opinion, what are some things that you would like to see for a premium product that you feel would make either the game more fun or maybe more changing the metagame. But I'd love to have a conversation too whether other ideas that would be really cool. And again, these are things that we're really hopeful. There's no trends, there's no speculation, there's no point in it, it's unpredictable. But I figured this is something worth talking about, especially since I've had multiple viewers really bring this up to my attention as well. On to the next one, amigos. Bye!